Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Kita akan mulai pembelajaran mata pelajaran visual effect ya. Nah, apa itu visual effect? Langsung saja kita akan melihat dulu tayangan video yang sudah saya buat. Di situ ada materi kompetensi dasarnya yang akan dipelajari, yaitu animasi, unit shot, dan partikel. Pertama-tama kita harus mengetahui apa itu visual effect bagi yang baru datang tadi terutama. Visual effect itu apa? Visual effect itu adalah apa tadi? Visual effect jadi menggunakan latar layar virtual, baik itu blue screen atau green screen yang kemudian diubah menjadi visual yang diinginkan ya. Nah, lebih jelasnya kita akan lihat videonya dulu, penjelasan saya ini. Di pembelajaran daring 11 produksi film, kali ini materinya adalah visual effect ya. Visual effect yang kita akan bahas sesuai dengan kompetensi dasar di sini adalah pertama kita akan memahami bentuk dasar visual, kemudian kita akan menjelaskan pengertian unit shot, animasi, dan partikel, dan kemudian kita akan menjelaskan apa itu visual effect dan teknik-teknik dalam visual effect ya. Langsung saja, apakah sih visual effect itu? Visual effect itu sebenarnya adalah sebuah teknik yang digunakan dalam industri film, televisi, dan animasi yang menyertakan proses manipulasi tertentu di luar adegan pengambilan gambar syuting asli. Simpelnya adalah menciptakan suatu peristiwa kejadian dengan latar suasana dengan menggunakan CGI. CGI itu singkatannya adalah Computer Generated Imagery. Nah, agar sama dengan kenyataannya. Dan visual effect itu banyak tekniknya. Nah, di sini ada teknik pertama yaitu CGI tadi yang menggunakan yang biasa banyak digunakan di film-film seperti Avatar, Avengers, Star Wars, di banyak film Hollywood ya. Biasanya menggunakan software yang digunakan di sini ada 3D Max, kemudian Maya, dan Blender. Nah, mungkin di pelajaran ini yang diajarkan mungkin adalah menggunakan After Effects ya, karena yang termudah itu adalah After Effects. Nah, menurut saya pribadi. Kemudian yang kedua, digital compositing. Kalau digital compositing ini bisa menggunakan latar biru, latar hijau. Tadi di gambaran ini katedral menggunakan layar hijau. Nah, di sini digital compositing menggunakan layar biru, tapi kemudian layar birunya diganti menjadi pemandangan. Nah, yang dimaksud digital compositing ini adalah proses merakit secara digital beberapa gambar untuk membuat gambar akhir, gambar bergerak atau tampilan layar. Nah, teknik ini dikenal dengan sebutan green screen atau blue screen. Jadi menggunakan layar biru atau menggunakan layar hijau. Yang ketiga adalah virtual sinematografi. Seperti lihat di gambar, gambar yang diambil kemudian diproses demikian rupa sehingga langsung menjadi sebuah efek visual yang tampilan green screen-nya langsung diubah menjadi gambar. Ini backgroundnya. Nah, di sini dijelaskan bahwasanya pada virtual sinematografi adalah efek khusus dalam film yang dibuat dengan komputer grafis bisa memotret objek asli untuk dibuat objek 3D sebagai kreasi virtual sinematografi. Nah, berarti gambar yang ditangkap kemudian diproses menjadi efek 3 dimensi oleh komputer. Langsung diproses ternyata. Yang keempat adalah stop motion animation. Nah, stop motion animation ini sering kalian tonton di TV ini. Sound the Ship dan sebagainya. Itu menggunakan boneka-boneka kecil ini kemudian digerakkan frame by frame, gerakan per gerakan, kemudian digabungkan jadi menjadi sebuah pergerakan gambar di animasi.
Yang kedua tadi tulisannya bersambung ke unit shot ya, dan partikel. Yang sebelumnya tadi sudah jelasin partikel. Yang baru datang sudah paham apa itu visual effect. Banyak digunakan di film-film ya. Film apa yang pernah kamu tahu, pernah lihat menggunakan efek-efek ini? Biasanya Pak Avengers itu ya. Kemudian kalau Indonesia ini yang paling keren itu Gundala, itu menggunakan efek CGI. Jadi kesimpulannya menggunakan apa tadi, background virtual. Bisa warna hijau dan biru. Jadi sebenarnya set itu ada dua, ada real set sama virtual set. Kalau real set itu kamu syuting di sesungguhnya hutan bener, tapi karena mungkin tidak ada hutan, pas pakai, nah yang kedua pakai virtual set itu pakai chroma key. Itu blue sama green tadi, itu layer itu disebut chroma key ya, chroma key. Jadi key warnanya itu biru sama warnanya hijau. Nah, ada pertanyaan nih, kenapa di dalam film dan televisi menggunakan layar biru atau menggunakan layar hijau, kok tidak menggunakan warna putih Pak, hitam? Jawabannya Pak, karena eh, di tubuh kita kan jarang ada warna biru ya, jarang ada warna hijau. Kalau sampai warna rambut kita biru, ketika kita pakai background warna biru, hilang rambutnya. Nah, kalau di barat warna matanya kadang ada yang biru ya, itu juga nanti hilang biru retinanya gitu, karena dihilangkan dengan efek virtual tadi itu. Kalau kita apa namanya, pilih efek chroma key, kalau di Premiere ada chroma key hijau, klik itu warna hijau mungkin yang hilang, atau cari warna lain pakai color key di Premiere, bisa dihilangkan key warna birunya, kita seleksi jadi nanti bisa hilang. Nah, tadi softwarenya menggunakan 3D Max, kemudian menggunakan Blender, Maya, itu software animasi 3D. Kalau dua dimensi kita bisa gunakan After Effects ya, After Effects seperti ini. Mungkin paling sederhana kita ajarkan menggunakan After Effects. Ini adalah After Effects. Jadi apa namanya, dua dimensi. Di sini kita masukkan nanti partikelnya. Kalau ada partikel buat background tulisan, paling sederhana partikel. Semoga bisa ini efeknya. Di sini kita gunakan efek yang kita menganimasikan tulisan. Kalau After Effects bisa efek present, kita cari teks, mungkin kita masuk shuffle in, semoga bisa nih. Tadi agak error. Error juga, kids need 2 more frame to playback, membutuhkan 2 frame untuk play. Ini berapa frame? Yes. Jadi seperti ini ya tampilannya After Effects. Nanti kita bisa animasikan. Kalau kita partikel, kita bisa impor nanti di sini buat background. New, bisa impor, ditaruh di sini. Nah, kembali ke visual After Effects tadi. Nah, After Effects-nya saya lihatkan dulu, tadi belum dilihatkan tampilan After Effects-nya. After Effects. Nah, ini tampilan After Effects ya. After Effects, nanti kamu tinggal masukkan apa saja yang kamu dibutuhkan. Teks, kemudian nanti video kamu bisa impor. Kalau ada footage-nya di sini, ada footage ini, mungkin saya masukkan. Semoga bisa terlihat. Ini kita buat background saya. After Effects. Ini Posisinya mungkin berapa detik? Oh, hanya 1 detik, pantesan kita buat 10 menit aja. 10 kan. Nah, kalau ini insya Allah bisa. Kita buat animasi teks, produksi film. Nah, langsung ini ada efek di kanan, ada efek animation karakter in. Shuffle. Nah, ini contohnya. Ada juga decoder in, macam-macam efek. Itu hanya efek grafis saja, tulisan. Contoh. Nah, kembali lagi. Tadi kita belum partikel ya, partikel itu. Nah, partikel mana tadi partikelnya? Nah, ini ada partikel itu apa ya, bisa jadi bahan background nanti, partikel nah, partikel dalam visual effect. Di tulisan tadi yang saya buat After Effects, kemudian kamu kasih tulisan, dikasih partikel ini, jadi tulisannya Star Wars. Ini kan pas sama gambarnya Star Wars, dengan gambarnya Star Wars kan pas. Ini penggunaan partikel digabungkan dengan teks. Terus yang ketiga, ini visual effect. Sejarah visual effect di sini. Fungsinya apa visual effect? Kenapa visual effect digunakan? Fungsinya adalah membuat memvisualisasikan yang tidak dicapai dengan alat biasa. Tadi kita butuh gambar yang luar biasa, kita bisa visualisasikan dengan green screen. Ini manipulasi adegan dengan biaya yang besar bisa diminimalisasikan dengan blue screen atau green screen. Nggak harus ke tempat sebenarnya, ke hutan, ke gedung yang tinggi, tapi kita bisa buat dengan menggunakan green screen. Kita ubah greensnya menjadi hutan ataupun mendoan gedung, terus mencegah terjadinya hidra. Tadi ada beberapa teknik ya yang sudah saya sampaikan. Ada keying, compositing, kemudian ada tadi itu chroma key. Nah, ini contohnya lagi bagaimana penggabungan dua gambar menggunakan green screen. Sebelum kita akhiri, ini ada 10 contoh yang bisa kita lihat bagaimana penggunaan
visual effects have evolved dramatically since their inception in the 1980s. And the credit goes to Hollywood, who's been able to do the unimaginable task of bringing fiction into our real world. It's no wonder then that our famous childhood animated characters are all coming back to life. Hello everyone, and today we'll look at some of the best movie scenes and how they actually look like before and after VFX. So, let's get started. At number 7, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. Angelina Jolie truly mastered the art of flying in this 2019 fantasy film. However, to look photorealistic on the big screen, a lot of it was achieved using CGI, and the wings were always completely computer generated. Now, to make them fly, the traditional method of lifting them up in the air using wires only worked to a certain extent during takeoffs and landings. So the VFX team developed another method where Angelina Jolie and the other characters were flown in the air using a two-pronged tuning fork rig. The rig worked like this. Just imagine how a pitchfork looks here, with no center prong. The center prong being where the performer goes. The fork also had a steering wheel at the back along with a wire that goes to the ceiling on the top. The people in their blue suits are the ones who manually control the wheel. The tuning fork rig worked quite well, in particular for hovering scenes which allowed the director to fly them backwards, forwards, or sideways in full 360-degree movement. Sometimes up to 3 actors were suspended in the rig within a blue screen space, which were later turned into CGI backdrops. Now, these 2 blue blades which you see at Jolie's back were the ones which were later replaced with animated wings. In those instances, the CGI team would then match the wings with the natural movements in the actors' performances. At number 6, Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Though the movie is almost 3 decades old, the iconic villain character T-1000 is still fresh in our minds. The visual effects used for the T-1000 were highly advanced for the time, combining state-of-the-art CGI, prosthetics, and editing to allow the T-1000 to demonstrate its shape-shifting ability. CGI was required particularly for the T-1000, a liquid metal structure, and this character could transform into almost anything it touches. The creation of the visual effects cost $5 million at the time and took 35 people, including animators, technicians, and artists, and almost 10 months to produce, for a total of 25 man-years. Despite the large amount of time spent, the CGI sequences only totaled 5 minutes of the film. To make a computer model of the face of the T-1000, the VFX team used laser scanning technology called CyberScan. They projected a laser beam across the face of Robert Patrick and used video cameras to build the 3D database. Robert's distinctive walk and run were also recorded and studied vigorously to make the T-1000 as realistic as possible. At number 5, The Jungle Book. The thing that makes The Jungle Book different from any other CGI-intensive film is that it was shot entirely against a blue screen with only a single actor, Neil Sethi, who played Mowgli. All of the 70 animal species and the entire environment was created in CG, and for reference, animal puppet figures and a few people in blue suits were provided for Mowgli to act against, although none appear in the finished film. By creating a digital jungle that is almost impossible to travel to in the real world, the VFX team immersed audiences in an exotic, imagined environment similar to what Avatar did with Pandora, but here they did it for the entire movie. Since the human eye is quite good at catching anything fake, the effects team did a great job in extending naturalism to show how animal mouths moved around human words. They even developed a new software for animating muscular structure in the animals. Such was the enormity of the task that it took 800 shots to create the visual effects of the jungle. The VFX shots took a total of 37 million hours of rendering. On average, a frame took 14 to 24 hours of rendering, while the maximum it took was 42 hours. Around 1,000 remote jungle locations in India were photographed and used as reference in post-production, which would then blend with the animal characters and Mowgli to ultimately create the final product. At number 4, The Walk. Philippe Petit, the man who is famous for his high-wire walk between the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City in the year 1974. The iconic stunt was recreated in the 2015 film The Walk, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Philippe Petit. Since the Twin Towers no longer exist, the filmmakers had to recreate everything from scratch, and there was not a single piece of real footage available. The team digitally recreated the site, including the Twin Towers and its views of Manhattan as they once appeared. Only the top corner section of the South Tower was physically built, surrounded by acres of green screen. Everything else, the towers, skies, clouds, cityscapes, slack-jawed bystanders, the dangerously steep drop to certain death, is all digitally rendered for the film. Gordon-Levitt, who had no formal high-wire experience, trained directly with Petit. By the end of the 8th day, he was able to walk on the wire by himself and continue to practice while shooting. Along with a body double who performed trickier stunts, the actor shot the climactic wire-walking scenes on a soundstage. It had reconstructions of the top 2 stories of the tower, and a wire approximately 12 feet off the ground, which were connected out across a green gorge and was anchored on a pole. The 3D model was matched to the motion of the stunt double, with Gordon Levitt's performance added. At number 3, Interstellar. Christopher Nolan is known to create realistic-looking visuals with minimum use of the green screen. Now, for a film with so many great visuals, the number of effects in the film was not much greater than in Nolan's other films, The Dark Knight Rises or Inception. However, for Interstellar, they created the effects first, allowing digital projectors to display them behind the actors, rather than having the actors perform in front of green screens. To keep the film realistic, Interstellar's Earth-based sequences used few visual effects, one of which was a dust storm, so they would contrast with Nolan's vision of space travel, which involved a mathematically accurate black hole, a wormhole, the various planets, and the time-warping tesseract. However, the standout scene is the one in which the astronaut Joseph Cooper enters the tesseract, a four-dimensional space of interlinked timelines, where he communicates with his daughter, Murph, in the far-distant past. The concept was based on a three-dimensional extension of slit-scan photography. All the elements of Murph's bedroom were scanned at high resolution and were used to create a digital version, and from this, they generated the multiple extruded timelines. The 3D team used this digital model to extend the physical tesseract set to infinity and beyond. At number 2, Captain Marvel. Everyone remembers Captain Marvel in the Avengers Endgame, where she arrives only at the end to destroy those gargantuan spaceships. In her solo film released in 2019, CGI was used in a lot of the scenes. For instance, look at this scene where she blasts out fire out of her hands. Obviously, it's only stupid to use two people dressed in green suits throwing fire flames from her back. The VFX team accomplished this effect by using LED armbands as a lighting prop for the actor. The famous scene where she is plummeting to Earth was done using a digital double for her to be able to close in on her face and really use her face and her expressions only where necessary. Also, to make it seem as if she's falling down from space, there were people beneath her who were moving her around in the blue screen suits, and they tried to puppeteer her to make it feel like she's floating in a more naturalistic way as she would when falling. So finally, the number 1 movie on our list, and yes, it is an all-time favorite film, The Matrix. Not only is The Matrix one of the greatest sci-fi creations, one particular scene has become renowned for its use of special effects in Hollywood and beyond. Yes, the incredible sequence where Neo dodges off Agent Smith's bullets with quite ease. The bullet time special effect is a time-rendered simulation which allows a shot to progress in slow motion while the camera appears to move through the scene at normal speed. The method used for creating this effect involved a technically expanded version of an old art photography technique known as time-slice photography, in which an array of cameras is placed around an object and triggered simultaneously. So the scene was created by suspending the actor on wires, using motion capture, and filming segments with multiple still cameras shooting from different angles. Then, instead of firing the cameras simultaneously, the visual effect team fired the cameras fractions of a second after each other, so that each camera could capture the action as it progressed, creating a super slow motion effect. When the frames were put together, the resulting slow motion effects reached a frame frequency of 12,000 per second, as opposed to the normal 24 frames per second of film, to create this stunning effect. So, guys,
Tadi contoh dari video visual effect ya, sangat menarik. Nah, tugasnya nanti kamu cari satu buah film, jangan sama yang ada behind the scene yang penggunaan visual effect itu. Jadi kan banyak di film Indonesia menggunakan itu, kemudian film barat apalagi. Coba dipahami, dilihat, kemudian dianalisa kira-kira dia menggunakan apa saja yang digunakan dalam terkait mungkin background settingnya atau lain sebagainya. Di contoh itu banyak tadi. Yang terakhir apa tadi ya? Yang terakhir sudah ini partikel sudah tadi ya, ini sudah. Ya kayak gitu, saya akhiri dulu. Terima kasih, sekian dari saya, sampai ketemu di pembelajaran selanjutnya di pertemuan kedua visual effect. Sekian, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.